In this video, we are going to learn how to feed your catfish with different fish sizes at each growing stages. When you feed your catfish, you should be able to understand that they have different sizes of feed which they eat at every stage of their growth. Like the fingerlings, they start with 1.5 mm. So you feed them with 1.5 mm. While the juvenile, you feed them with 2 mm. But some other farmer may start their own with 1.5 mm, and after 2 weeks they change to 2 mm. So it depends on how you start feeding your catfish at the outgrown section. Understanding that this very feed you give to this very juvenile or fingerling, they should contain a high protein content. A high protein content. For example, there are some feed that have about 50% protein content, and there are some that have 45 protein content 45% protein content. So this very protein content help the fish to grow very well at their early stage, because at this very early stage they need to build up their body tissue, which normally comes from the protein which they take through the feed. So if this is your first time of seeing our video, like, subscribe and follow us in our Facebook page. So this very feed size, you can use it for about 2 months. That is when you get this fingerling or juvenile to your pond, you can use them for 2 months. At the end of 2 months, you switch to 3 mm. That is by the third month, you switch to 3 mm. But this very 3 mm has a lesser protein content than that very first feed sizes you use, which is the 1.5 and 2 mm. They will also take that for that very month. But for those that will be selling at this very stage of 3 months, they don't need to go further with other feed size. But those that are intending to grow their fish to table size, they will continue another feed size, that is 4 mm or 4.5 mm. And this 4.5 mm or 4 mm has a lesser protein content compared to 3 mm. Some may even be having 42 or even 40, depending on the feed or the manufacturer. Now, that will take them for that very 4 months. By the fifth month, the feed size also change to 6 mm. Then this very feed also have a lesser protein content compared to that of 4 mm. You can see now that the more age or the more they grow, the lesser the protein content, and also the higher the size of feed which this very fish takes. So by the 6 months, that is those that are growing to 6 months, that is stable size, they will now change at that very point to 8 mm or 9 mm. And this also depends on the manufacturer you are getting. So you should understand that this very 8 mm or 9 mm is the finishing. So at this very point, the fish is ready to leave your pond for final sales. But there are also those that intended to grow it more than that very 6 months to broodstock. That is those that grow fishes for action. So they take their own to about 1 year or 1 year and 6 months before selling. So depending on what you intend to achieve in your catfish growing stages. So you can now see that we start with 1.5 mm to 2 mm, 3 mm, 4 mm, 6 mm, and 8 or 9 mm. You can now see that at every stages, as we have explained, they all have different sizes which they take, and also the protein content also varies. The higher the fish size, the lesser the protein content in that very feed.